Welcome to Staring into the Abyss. I'm your host, Richard Gerlach. With me, as always, is Matt Brandenburg.
I'm back for my crazy rabies adventure.
Yay!
I had to stay away for a little bit, you know.
Also joining us is Vitlame Mist.
Hey!
And the author of the infamous Mothman erotic novel Below is Laurel Hightower.
How's it going? I'm here to promote erotic Mothman.
With that sultry voice.
Yeah, with bronchitis, which makes me sound super sultry. Hi.
Hey, like,
I need you to laugh at it, but for real to our audience, Mothman, Below is a fucking fantastic novella.
Hell yes.
Thank you. I'm so glad.
Yes, it was amazing.
This novella kicked my ass when I was reading it, so bravo.
I was trying to guess where you had your jump scares. We can get into it, but
we'll get into it when we get into the whole thing. But before we even start, go to Amazon or go to Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing and just pick this book up because it is 100% worth the money.
Oh, yes. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad because it's so, it's one of these things and I even joked with Todd Kiesling, when I was, because he was doing a blurb for me and he was like, oh, I'm so excited for you. I was like, me too. I can't wait to read all the reviews that say this is nothing like Crossroads. He said he was like, I'm just going to give you a blurb that says this is not Crossroads. Which is, it's nothing against, I've been so grateful and so appreciative for everyone who's enjoyed Crossroads, but it also almost made me lock up, what if everyone who reads my writing because of Crossroads is like, fuck you. This is, this isn't right. This is not what I came here for.
Are you kidding me? This is everything I came for.
This book was
that was a very long-winded way of saying it's nerve-wracking when you put out another book,
Well, what's awesome is it's showing your range. You're like, yes. Hey, I'm not just a Crossroads person.
Yes, you're not a one-person pony.
You're like,
is that the correct one? I don't know if that's the correct
term. One trick pony.
Thank you, one trick pony, not one person pony. There are a lot of you can be, but also you can be. There can be a lot of person riding one pony.
Yeah, I like that phrasing. One person pony.
One person pony.
That's what we're doing
here I am again displaying my lack of me not being a native English speaker.
No, it's perfect.
The world revolves around English speakers too, so we demand that everyone have complete grasp of our language at all times, even when we don't speak a word of anything.
And if they don't, we're going to throw a temper tantrum about it.
Even if we can't even pronounce our own words properly,
oh my gosh, so true. I said detritus for so long. That still seems right to me. Detritus just sounds weird. It's like a Star Trek vessel.
Yeah.
We're aboard the USS Detritus.
Detritus.
That sounds so good, actually, though, when you say
it. That sounds about right. I mean, mine was luckfully. Yeah. Instead of I'm really lucky, I'm like, well, I'm really luckfully.
Luckily, that happened that way. No, I mean, I feel like we need some more nuance there. Luckily.
Yeah. Luckily. So one person pony is perfect.
Yay!
I like it.
Even has alliteration, which is better.
Yes.
Oh, I think we lost our person.
I am here.
Oh, good. Okay.
You just went quiet.
I tried. I want to fool you because my Skype always crashes.
You were just so amazed by our amazing grasp of language that you're like, I'm just gonna bask in this.
As an English teacher, I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to just go, and I'm not gonna give my word in this.
Thank you for that.
I always have to laugh on Final Guys because I feel like I say a little bit of the stuff that Jason says too. So instead of I know the word is roof on my house, but all I say is roof. I get up on my roof or I fell off my roof. And wolf, werewolf. I'm like, those are all words I say. So I'm just
Yeah.
feeding your Englishness. I think it's a combo of Michigan and the way I was raised.
Probably.
Some of my parents still add N to basement, so it's still basement. So
Basement. I mean, we'd say wash. It took me forever to stop saying wash your hands,
yeah.
wash rag. And
Yeah.
it's regional. I'm in Kentucky. I'm
Yeah.
more about like let's
It's
just
just
pronounce things how we were raised. Doesn't matter to me.
Makes me
exactly.
wonder if everyone that's been raised in North Carolina, instead of swearing, they just say, "Dang it!"
Gol darn.
Yeah, dang it.
Gosh darn it.
I mean, there are two YouTubers that I'm like watching, or well, my husband watches one of them, and I sometimes just catch what he's watching. And every time they are swearing, they always say "dang it," and I'm like,
Yeah.
no. Oh, I mean, I realize you guys are on YouTube and you can't say fuck, but damn
I
it.
Everybody was like making fun of me when I got pregnant because they were like, your kid is going to drop more F bombs in daycare. And I was like, I really have to get a handle on this. So I did. Like, I retrained myself. Like, I bleep myself out. I say things like, "What the French toast," and I was so excited because like the first time Tiny made like a now like something like that, like where an exclamation, he went, "Oh my goodness," and I was like, oh. Okay, high five me, somebody, because I somehow
Yes.
managed to train myself out of what the fuck for everything.
Yes.
I have to be careful around my nephew too. It's hard. I think I might have to be silent for like 2 hours when I meet him. He's like, "You
Sometimes-
like this?" Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Fucking awesome.
It's
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
Fucking awesome. I'd say before we dive into below, we should probably give our media recap from the last
Oh.
week.
Yes.
Some
Yeah.
recommendations. And I started Moon Knight, which
Yay.
so I've been kind of very dreading, but also very curious about. And I thought the first episode was pretty solid. It
Yes.
really-
So it's like it hasn't exceeded your expectations, but it's gone. Like it's getting there.
It hasn't met my expectations, but I'm going to wait until the whole thing is done, but until I have an opinion on it. Because like it's only 6 episodes. So before like I think by the end I'm either gonna love it or I'm gonna hate it. And there's only gonna be one way to find out.
I thought it was awesome.
I thought it was a lot of fun though. The I loved how they handled the dissociative identity disorder aspect of it.
Yes.
I thought that was done really well. I thought the action scenes, or I should say the lack of action scenes, was pretty great
Yes.
because they all happened in like camera cuts, which I thought was pretty effective for the confusion of Steven.
Yes. That was so
And
cool.
I thought it was, and when you see the costume, it's like a big like fuck yeah moment.
Yes, 100%. Well, I just love too that there's like a part, not to spoil, and it really isn't a spoiler, but it's a part where Oscar Isaac wakes up and his jaw is dislocated and it looks so painful because
my God.
Oh Lord.
the way they did it, and he's just kind of like he can't move his jaw, and he's just like, oh, and I was like, oh my God, I can't even look at this. So that was pretty cool.
I mean, I cringe of the intro when it had Ethan Hawke's character breaking a glass and pouring the glass into his shoes. And then
Yes.
just putting them on and walking away. Like I cringed really bad when that happened.
Yes. I was just like, oh, self-immolation, fun times. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I liked the craziness of it, and I liked the voices and everything. I think, like you said, we'll see. But so far, first episode was pretty sweet.
I mean, I'm a big Moon Knight comics fan, and he's a really hard character to like get right.
Oh yeah.
And, like, I mean, there's also the issue that people were worried about because Disney has done this with other Marvel characters. But like Moon Knight is one of the few superheroes that's like faithfully Jewish.
Yeah.
So people were worried they were just going to remove that from him because religion can be controversial.
Yeah.
It looks like they haven't because there's a rabbi thanked as a Judaism consultant. So we shall see by the time it gets to the end.
Yeah.
But no, the first episode's a blast. Like it's pretty funny. It's a lot of fun. It's different from Marvel, which like Marvel's kind of been the samey for a while, and it still has that Marvel humor. Like you really can't get away from the Marvel humor.
Yeah.
But it's It's a bit darker, I'd say.
I love
you
when
got-
they mix humor with dark. That's just my jam.
Yeah, so you got Benson and Moorhead tied to this, so you figured they're gonna put their little spin in it.
I hear it actually gets a little gory for like a Marvel show too.
That's good.
That's even
So-
better.
Yes.
But I have a couple more. I'll save them for the next go around. But Matt, what about you?
Oh man, it feels like I've been gone forever, so I've read a lot. And I'll just speed through one real quick. I read the novelization for The Wishmaster,
Ooh.
which was a lot of fun. And I'm so terrible. They have a really long publication name. It's like Encyclopedia.
It's like Apocalypse or whatever.
Yes, those guys. So we did Killer Flies from them, which
That was terribly edited.
was terribly edited, so I was a little nervous going into this one, but this one is I don't know what the issue is with that. Actually, I should strike that and say that they did respond to a post in Goodreads to me. I feel really bad because like I kind of had put in Goodreads when we read Killer Flies, and I was like, well, the editing is terrible in this. And they're like, we fixed it. And I was like, and
I
I'm
don't
like,
think
well,
they should answer you on Goodreads. That's creepy.
that
Yep.
was. I felt bad because I was like, well, I know it's probably, well, I mean, honestly, the editing kind of is their fault, but they fixed it. But like, you don't need to tell me that.
No,
I'm not
that's
gonna.
not. Yeah, that's not professional. Like you just didn't. I've seen like ones where like someone wrote a review and like the author came up and like replied, "Ouch," and I'm
Yeah,
just like, no,
yeah,
like no. Let's all pretend you didn't see that.
yeah. It's just like it's oh, it happened. You fixed it. Great. I don't need to know. I'm not gonna go back in and change it because that's the copy that I have. So anyway, Wishmaster is not like that, and Wishmaster was super cool. I actually never seen the movie, so this was just straight me reading a book with no preconceived notions, and I really enjoyed it. I kind of want to see it, but from what I gathered, it's not exactly the same. So we'll see. But it's fun. If you want a movie novelization, and I feel like they've been doing a lot of them, they do a great job. What I did want to talk about is I started reading Beleaguered City and Other Tales of the Seen and Unseen, which is by Margaret Oliphant. Now, this is obscure, sort of obscure, because this comes from Monster She Wrote. So there was that. I read that also while I was gone. It was a great, I don't know, nonfiction book about all female horror writers from, I don't know, 1700s on. And this one stuck out with me, and this was written, probably came out in like 1866 or something like that. So it's a really old one. It is available. I found it really easily on Amazon. And the reason I wanted to read this was it's about this city with the dead come back and they push everyone, all the living, out of the city. But they're not zombies. They're just these spirits. Nobody can see them. They're just like these things, and they compel all the living people in this town to leave the gates, and then they close the gates, and then they're trying to figure out like, how do we get back in? Where'd all these people come from? The funny thing about this, and I feel like it's just perfect for a lot of what's been happening, and the fact that we're like days out of Women in Horror Month, is she's writing this from this is some small town in France somewhere, which is interesting because it's 1866 like language, and it's also pulling a lot of French in, so it's taking me a little bit to figure everything out, but that's fine. But it's just like, I think this is the mayor, I think they're saying this, I think this is like a preacher, this might be like a spirit caller, I don't know, but we're going with it. So anyway, she's writing it from the perspective of the mayor, and the mayor is this like goofy guy who thinks he puts on a front that he is like the best person for this town. Everybody needs to listen to him because he's the best voice for everybody, and he's the toughest person there. But we get his internal thing, and there's parts where he's absolutely terrified of these spirits and these noises and all these things. But then he's just like, well, I can't let anybody know that. Or this person with me, I can't let them know that. So I got to put on this tough front. So it's just this really funny commentary on like men and men in leadership. And also she has possibly the whole crux of this is that there's a hospital and there's a group of nuns want it to play the mass in the hospital to help, I don't know, heal people or whatever like that. And a group of men basically kind of complained and said, well, we don't need that noise in the hospital because our God is the dollar. Serious. That's what they say. Their God is their money, and we don't need God here.
That's pretty
and
on
all
the
this,
nose.
right? 100%. She was like, I'm gonna tell people how it is, and um, so they kick the nuns out, and so that's what everyone thinks is the problem, is that that since the nuns were kicked out, the dead are mad, and so they're going to come back in and take over and make everyone happy. So it's just this like really funny like commentary on that, and the men talking about these nuns, and they're like, well, they make sense, but we can't let them know they make sense and all this stuff. And it's just like I'm reading this and I'm like, all right, 1866, she's from Scotland, so she's not even, I think she might have, I would have to reread the monster she wrote, but I think it's something along those lines of where she lived there for a while, and so she's taken from her own history, but she just like she is putting it to these dudes, and it's just so funny because it's like you're following she jumps perspective, and it's all men perspective, and they're not the same, but the kind of idea of internal monologue is, oh, we're horrified, but external monologue is, you guys are all stupid, you have to listen to me, kind of thing. So it's funny. It's a little like, it's a little antiquated, 1800s. It's going to be kind of stuck in that world, and so there's a little bit of that, but I am appreciating what she's doing with it, and just it's quite weird because you can't see these spirits, and the way she describes this compellingness to like leave, and this feeling, the way she says they're like, it feels like you're in a crowded space, but there's nobody around you, so you feel all these bodies around you, but you can't see them, and so really claustrophobic if you don't like that kind of stuff, which is perfect. So yeah, I'm really digging this. There's a couple of short stories in this collection too, but this is like one of her novels, and if you read that monster she wrote, that Margaret Oliphant wrote, like, I don't know, it was like 300 books or something crazy like that, because she had to pay for, it's a tragic story about her family life. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying this, and I'm glad that book pulled out some options for me to read. So I think that's the big stuff for me.
Awesome. And Vitlame, what about you?
Well, I actually finally managed to finish Laurel's Crossroads.
Yay.
Yay.
Do you want me to sign off while you talk about it? Like, that's just rude
No.
for me to be like listening in.
No.
It's okay. It's okay if you have bad things to say about it. I will not say I fixed it.
I have absolutely no bad things to say about it. I listened to the audiobook.
Oh gosh, Linda did such a good job with that.
Linda is
Oh, man.
amazing.
Yeah.
Like, she did it. It was so fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just, the emotion she put in the sentences that really needed that emotion. I was like, oh my God, that hit hard.
Yeah. Yeah. She's incredible. She's one of the best like narrators, that I've ever heard. And she was just so perfect for that. When I heard her, and it's not like I got to like just choose, but when I was listening to a few of the audition tapes and hers just like completely nailed it. And I was like, oh yeah, that is the narration for that completely.
Yeah. I started listening to it while I was at work, and I actually had to stop at the part where she was going further down the road of sacrifices.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna spoil it for the listeners, but I was like, I had to stop and be like, yeah, this is not appropriate for work. I better stop before I, throw my headphones down and be like, no, nope. So I decided yesterday to finish it, and I was like doing, like adding stuff to my journal, and then when I continue with it, I was like, this was a bad idea to do. And I couldn't focus on the journaling, and I was like, no, I have to keep listening, even though I'm like, my body's like, no, you want to do something else, honey. And then when I finished, I was like, Jesus, that just was that wasn't a gut punch. That was a fucking nut punch.
I love it.
Can I use that as a blurb?
Yes.
Yes.
It's not a gut punch, it's a nut punch.
Yes, you may, because yeah, I just like I seem to pick the books that leave me empty. And I immediately went to search for my cat. I'm like, I need hugs. Give me hugs.
Animals are good for that.
Yeah.
They are, even though he didn't want hugs. He was like, no, bitch, get off me.
That sounds like a cat.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I finished that book. Haven't gotten into other stories at the moment, but I am gonna start this week on Catherine McCarthy's Immortal.
Oh yeah, that
Well,
is
I've
so
heard
good.
good things of that one.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to try that. Another grief horror, and I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
torturing myself. Yay!
Yay.
As for films, though, I've been watching a lot of films lately because on Friday I got this huge migraine and I couldn't stay at work. So I was like, I'm gonna stay home and just see if my brain rots with TV.
Like the best
And
cure.
it is. It actually helped. So I watched Death on the Nile.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How was that?
It's an Agatha Christie story. I mean, you gotta either you love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
Did they change Death of the Nile like they did the last Agatha Christie story that they adapted?
I'm not really sure.
'Cause
It's been
they changed a bit from A Murder on the Orient Express.
They might have, yeah. Yeah, because these books are really old. They might have changed a little bit, but it's been such a long time since I read the books, so I can't tell for sure.
Hmm.
But it was enjoyable, and if you've been watching a lot of like murder mysteries or anything like that, you kind of know who, or if you haven't read the books, you know immediately who did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was like they kind of they might have done it for the people who hadn't read it, or just so they don't get complaints that they didn't know who did it in the end or something. It was it was hinted at really early in the movie, like who done it.
Did they give him shifty eyes?
Yeah, kind of.
Did he twirl a
Kinda, yeah.
mustache a little?
Yeah, kinda. I mean,
Yes.
he was like in the beginning. He like knew the characters immediately, and I'm like, crap. So we know who it is. And what really bothered me though, because it's on Disney Plus, and I like watching everything with the subtitles on.
Yeah.
It's just something that I grew up with. Living in Iceland and stuff. And the beginning of the movie starts with World War One, when the Perot is in the war, fighting with the French, and that entire segment is spoken in French.
Huh.
Oh.
And the subtitles doesn't have any. It just says speaking in French, and I'm like,
Oh no.
yeah. And I was like,
Oh shit.
I don't remember that much of my high school French, so I don't understand.
I
It's
love
like
when
I
they
Real-
do that, like speaking in foreign language. Like, thank you, I caught that. I thought it was your job to tell me what it said.
yeah.
Yes, in Spanish.
It's
You're like, I thought I was going crazy, but you're telling me they're speaking in our language, so I'm okay.
Yeah, it's like I got the gist of it a little bit, from how they were interacting, but at the same time, I'm like, I want to know the plan, please. So I watched
Amazing.
that, and I also watched Turning Red, the new Pixar movie.
Yes. That's
It's
great.
It's such a cute movie.
Movie
I
that's
loved it.
getting a lot of controversy for no reason at all.
I
Seriously.
know, and it's like, can't you be happy? Like, can't you
Yeah.
just enjoy this and allow people to enjoy this, because this is cute as fuck.
No,
Yeah.
And it's like I really, I related to Maylin or May,
Yeah.
because I was like, yeah, overbearing mothers. I know that. Which in turn they will say, no, you mean overprotective. I'm like, yeah, it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
So it was really, really cute, and I really liked it. And then after, I had done murder mystery. Now I did like cartoon or Pixar, and then I was like, what haven't I left off? Oh yeah, horror. So I decided to watch The Hills of Eyes.
Oh, perfect transgression.
Oh, such a 180.
Yeah, like you know what I feel like watching? Craziness in the mountains.
Yes, and well, I decided to watch it because I actually, and a lot of people are probably going to gasp at this, but I hadn't seen it.
Now wait, did you watch the original or did
Not
you watch
the original. I watched it 2006.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, the remake's better than the original.
A
The
lot,
original's
a
one
lot
of
of people are, yeah, a lot of people are saying that.
the original is one of Wes Craven's worst film. Not worst, but like it's one of his most boring films, honestly.
Yeah, there's a reason why I didn't want to watch it at that time. Is because I'm not a fan of cannibal films and or cannibal stories in general. But like when I watched it, I'm like, okay, so it didn't really show a lot of them eating them, so that's a good thing, I guess. But
Yeah.
I also noticed, like, I don't know if people have noticed it as well, but I thought it was a really interesting thing that I noticed in the movie is that they have the two dogs.
Oh God. Yes.
And if there's an animal or pet in a fucking horror movie, you know what to expect.
Yep.
Yeah.
But like there were two dogs. It was like, and they were called Beauty and the Beast. It was so cute. And one of the dogs dies, which is awful. And I didn't watch that part. I was like, yeah, where's my book? I was writing something. Oh yeah, flip it up on the screen. I don't hear anything. And yeah, that dog dies, and I was like really the entirety of the movie. I was worried about the baby and the dog. I was like, I don't care about you, other humans. If the baby or the other dog doesn't survive, I am fucking quitting on this film. But the thing that I also noticed though was that the dog that died was the female one. And,
Interesting.
yeah, and the male one survived. And the reason why the female one died is because she went wandering off. And I was like, was this intentional? Like, is this supposed to be a fucking social commentary, but instead of using humans, you use dogs? And this just kept happening and like rewinding in my mind, and I was like, this is unfair. Why didn't the male dog die? Why did he have to be the savior? I was a little bit pissed off at that. I was like, damn it, why am I caring about this? This was probably not intentional, but at the same time, like, let the female dog win for once. But I did enjoy that film. It was actually really fun. It was crazy, like you said, Matt. It was like a huge lot of crazy. But I did like the fact that the character that needed the most character growth was he got his character growth. But I was really sad that Ted Levine died so suddenly.
Yeah.
Because I like that actor, and I was like, oh, he had to die that first. God damn it.
That's why I was here. I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I had 2 days. Film it and then get rid of me.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of felt that.
And Laurel, what about you? If you've had any time,
I watched Trick or Treat for the first time yesterday, which was pretty good. It's because it's on Shudder, but one thing that I started watching that I really love on Netflix is Krakow Monsters, which is a Polish show.
Yes, how is that?
Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's very it's like dark fantasy is how I would classify it. I mean, and there are some like really verging towards horror because like especially some of the scenes, like her recurring dream is one of the most horrifying like images I've seen. It's absolutely fantastic, but really good. Like I'm only 2 episodes in, but it seems like there's a lot of like lore and world building done there. Like the legend is fully fleshed out, and it's very interesting. So I'm a big fan of that so far. Krakow Monsters is really good. Plus, I'm a big fan of like subtitles. I love I seem to be more like into like foreign language horror. Like for some reason, a lot of times it just strikes me as more interesting.
It
Yeah,
is, yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
They're monster hunters, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying because I was like, Netflix it's been out, it's been like on their biz, and I'm like, all right, this looks really cool. I just wanted to make sure I was thinking the right thing. Hopefully, they like go past the first season. I
That would
mean,
be nice.
Mhm.
Like, just let's cancel everything you've ever loved. Like,
right? I was just like, oh, come on, Archive 81, you have to cancel that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm still sad about that.
Still
Don't-
sad.
I did have to laugh, and this is like no offense to anybody for that, but like having, you see the end, so you have a pretty good idea of where season 2 is gonna go, and then like they had talked to the creators, and the creators said, "Oh yeah, we got these great ideas for season 2," and blah blah blah, and it was like, well, like they were really obvious ideas because you would set them up in season 1, so I wasn't.
yeah.
I was like, well, hopefully you had those plans because that's everything you set up.
Mhm.
I was like, we did it because I mean, I know some people talked, and I know this is a total tangent because like I know some people talked because this was part of an anthology, a podcast anthology, so they were like, well, maybe, but the way it ended, it was like, all right, well, we know what direction's going in, and then they had confirmed that it's going to go in that direction. I was like, all right, well, too bad it's not happening.
So sad.
Yeah,
It's crazy Netflix.
I'm still sad about that. Moment of silence.
Yeah. That sounds good. Well, and I haven't quite finished it yet, so like.
Oh well,
And,
never mind.
oh no, I mean, oh, we wouldn't have asked you on. We played.
That's it. Over.
Get out. But for reading, I've been reading. I bet I probably shouldn't, like when I beta read stuff, like I hate that I can't be like, and I just read this by so and so, but I don't know if I'm supposed to. So I beta read something really good, and then I've been reading Alan Baxter's The Fall.
Nice.
Oh,
It's
nice.
excellent. It's such a great follow up to The Gulp. Like
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, and it's awesome because like it's where he already did such a good job like world building in The Gulp, like you're much more tense like from the beginning because everything you're like nothing is safe here. Don't touch that. So it's really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I haven't actually not finished any books this week, sadly.
What?
I know, but
That
I
is a
have
travesty.
I have started a book that might be my favorite read of the year.
Oh.
It is 5 Decembers by James Kestrel. It's a crime book, so it's a bit different than kind of the stuff we talk about. But it's about this detective in Hawaii during World War II who gets assigned to solve a murder that ends up taking him all the way to like Japan, Taiwan, back to Hawaii, just to like figure out like what the hell's going on with all this. And it takes place over 5 years
Oh,
as
crazy.
he's kind of stuck on this case and gets deeper and deeper into the mystery of it all. It's super compelling, and it has it like it's written now, but it has this really nice pulpy dialogue and like writing style that kind of feels like it's an older like pulpy novel.
I like
Like,
that.
one part in the beginning where it's like the main character is talking to like the chief, and he's just like, it's a man hanging up there. He's like, how can you tell it's a man? He goes, he's not wearing any clothes. And the chief doesn't respond. And there's one part where the chief's like, what color is the guy's hair? He's like, I don't know. It's all blood now.
Oh, that's perfect.
That's awesome.
Like, it's just a really fun pulp read. And also, my last little like non-horror rec would be I saw the movie Drive My Car.
The Japanese
Oh.
one, right?
Nominated, yeah, the one based on the Murakami short story.
Mm.
If you're in the mood for something long and something very emotional and very character driven, I highly recommend it. But it's long. It's 2 hours long. You're gonna be sitting for a while.
Sorry, childish brain. Go on.
Hey Matt. Hey Matt. Hey Matt. Hey Matt.
Yes.
It's long.
It's very emotional.
It's very emotional, and it hits really hard.
I feel like we're going back to Sperm Jackers from Hell here in a second.
Yep.
Oh my god. Sorry everybody. I couldn't help myself as soon as you said it. And I was like, oh, okay.
I'm pretty
It's
sure that a lot of people that like listened to last week's episode, with Matt absence, they're like, huh, there's no immature humor here now. And then now they're like, oh no, wait, no, never mind. It was a fluke. He's gone. He's back.
I gotta bring it all back. Gotta push it in there hard.
Yep. I mean, you missed a week. You need to back it up.
I've been holding it in. I'm just ready to explode.
That's what she said.
All right, I gotta go cough. Oh my god.
What was
so
Drive My Car on? Was that on HBO?
It is on HBO.
Cool.
And it's about this theater director who is, his wife is a scriptwriter, and she comes up with her ideas for stories while having sex.
I was like right on track.
Yeah, you're on track. She dies early on in the film, and the movie then takes place 2 years later, as he hasn't really recovered from the death of his wife, and he has lost sight in one eye, or is losing sight in one eye because he has glaucoma. So he hires a driver to drive him around, and hence Drive My Car. And the movie follows them as they both bond, and they both are trying to overcome traumas that they faced in their past, while he's trying to put together this play. And one of the actors he's cast in the play is a man that his wife had been having an affair on him with. And
Ooh.
it's also struggling with the death of the same woman. And it kind of follows as these people are like trying to recover from the loss of someone they loved. Some of them blame themselves for what happened. Some of them just are upset about what happened. And it follows them until they're able to like fulfill like the mourning cycle and be able to accept what has happened and move forward as life will continue to go on. And it's just a really like all the performances are fantastic. It has the best sign language performance of the year. I know Coda won Best Picture, and Coda was a great movie, but this has a better sign language performance. And it's just a really beautiful movie, and I highly recommend it.
That sounds really deep.
It was really deep. And it was really hard. It filled a lot of space, and you had to force it a little bit, but it was good.
People are like, this movie is like majestic and beautiful, and I'm like, here, let me smear some shit on it and be really stupid about it.
I mean, it probably left you pretty satisfied, right?
It did actually, yes. I felt very fulfilled once it was done.
Oh my god!
Just say that.
Oh no! I watched and we don't even have to talk about it, but talking about you watched this great movie, and I watched Carousel 2, which has a prolonged unicorn sex scene. So that's where my classiness comes from.
I mean, I also watched Top Gun last night, but I'm not going to get into that. But I think it's time for us to visit the Mothman.
We
Oh,
should.
yes.
I want to go
Moth
digging
porn.
in some cave.
Yeah, it's a moth porn.
When
Some
there's a truck crash and see what happens after.
Oh my
Yep, let's
gosh.
see how willing we are to, help a stranger.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I just, yeah.
Just, just for the record, if this would happen to me, I'd probably be, nope, in the fuck out of there. I do have like a big ass conscience, but given what happens in this story, I'm like, no, I'm good. You're like, you're on your own, buddy.
It's actually all a moral tale about how you should never help strangers.
Yes, it's a cautionary tale for sure.
I hope everyone learned their lesson.
So
It's like embrace the bystander effect.
Are you saying that this is a pro-libertarian novel, Laurel?
I am not touching that with an 8-foot Mothman. No way.
8-foot Mothman.
Or is he 10 feet? I don't know. I've lost count.
Oh my gosh. Yes, just love this. This was so much fun.
I'm so glad to hear it. I wanted and I saw somebody posted something about never shit talking yourself or your work. And like, I try not to, but honestly, every time someone brings up Crossroads, I'm like, I'm sorry. Because it's like a release it during like one of the most depressing times like, worldwide. And so with this, I was like, it was fun to write. And I was like, I hope this is just like fun to read. I hope that this is something that like people, I'm not going to say it's like lighthearted because I don't think I could do that if I tried.
No,
Oh, no, actually, I did write a short story called What the Fuck Manor. So never mind.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Yeah, no, I could kind of tell you were having fun with it, which was great because it was just this, like, I mean, everything you do in this was just so much fun, and you know, we'll probably get into spoilers soon, but just to kind of what you did with two things that I dug them just I thought was super cool was the like playing with time with the Mothman and like that like losing and forgetting stuff. That was so cool. Just even that like this set that up kind of from the start and you're like, wait, what's happening? And you're like, shit. And then just what I thought was such a cool idea, and I dug it throughout all of it, was having Brian's voice in her head. I thought that was such an interesting and sweet concept of like this idea of getting away, but what you do of like Addie and Brian were together for so long and she absorbed so much of him that voice is there. I thought that was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things, and I think one of the best things for me about like getting to know so many people like on social media and stuff has been the realization that I'm not the only person with like constant anxiety and like voices that, I mean, not voices in my head like kill everyone, Laurel, but all the ones that are the ones that like your constant inner monologue that you don't even realize you're having, and things like that. And I am a person who for most of my life has been pretty timid and will commonly, just as kind of as a result of my upbringing, just like let other people be the decider. Like I'm like, oh, another person said it, that must be the right answer. And that's something I've really had to struggle with. But it's like, I felt like putting that into the character was something that people might relate to, because I feel like, I mean, like when you're younger, you're like, I'm a crazy person. No one else has these internal monologues. And then like you get older and people like talk about it, you're like, oh, we're all crazy people. Okay, good. I'm glad. Good to know.
Yeah. I also really liked about what Matt added about Mothman, but also the thing in the legend, at least what I have read about the Mothman legends, is that he is always the harbinger of bad things.
Yeah.
But he doesn't inflict it upon people. He just he brings it, and he just watches to see how the people figure out of that come out of that fuck up.
Yeah.
He just looks and he's like, so you're going that way? Interesting choice. I loved that. I was like, yep, that sounds about right. And I also, like you said, there are a lot of tons of people with anxiety and stuff, and going through, like especially reading through Addie's thought process, I really related to that. I was like, yeah, that's my overthinking brain right there.
Yeah, it's hard to shut off, so I might as well use it.
Right.
Yes.
So before like we're always terrible at these things, so I'm going to try to be better. Why Mothman? Like, what did that come from?
Well, so like I feel like my first introduction to Mothman was just watching that like 2002 movie with like Richard Gere, and I saw it ages ago, but and I know I have it on VHS like still downstairs in the basement somewhere, but I watched it a number of times and I hadn't watched it for years. But it was I always thought it was such a cool concept, and I liked the I liked that it wasn't really explained very well. I was torn because I've always been very literal minded, and I just used to have such a hard time with horror short stories because so many of them end ambiguously. And I'm like, I need a follow up, please. Please explain to me what this is and what happened here, and it used to really bother me. But now it's like I also realize that for me, a lot of the times the fear factor goes out of a horror movie once I see what the critter is. Because it's very hard for it to live up to the expectations of what's in the dark and you don't see. So it's, I really appreciated that about the movie. I felt like it's like nothing is really explained. There's all these things that are way outside of our ken. They're way outside of what we could know. And, that really is actually how life works. Like we usually don't get an explanation, and shit that's really on a different plane like that. Why would we know? Anybody who claims to have all the answers is probably just Mothman in disguise. So, but then I picked up John Keel's book, the book it was based on, like a couple years ago, and read through the whole thing and realized how much more there was to it. I feel like the movie was really faithful, and particularly like to adapt it in a way that was interesting, and fit in a storyline. I think they did a good job, but there was so much more to it. And I thought, wow, this is really ambiguous. There's a lot of craziness here. So I knew I wanted to write about Mothman. Like I thought it was like an interesting element, but a lot of times like I'll sort of like collect that sort of thing. Like, ooh, I would love to include this, or I'd love to write about this, but I have to have the right story for it. So it just kind of went on a back burner until I made a really poorly planned drive to Scares That Care. And just a couple other things happened. And I was like, okay, this is where it's going to come in. This is where he fits into this. So
that's amazing. Yeah, I love the bridge, because I know that's a big part of the prophecy thing. And so it was like, this is like a perfect little nod to it. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I wanted it to be a nod to it and not a retelling.
Yeah.
Because that was just done so well, and I don't see any reason to to readdress that. In addition to which, I mean, people, I try and keep in mind that like real people died. On that bridge, like a lot of them. And one of the things that I've rewatched it recently, and one of the things I was thinking was like, this was, and he kind of covered it in the book too, like this was a really small town. So if you have like 30 some odd people die in a town this size, absolutely everyone has lost someone. There's no way for it not to be that way. So it's like, it doesn't just decimate everyone on that bridge, it decimates everyone in that town. And so, yeah, like I certainly didn't want to like address that, because I don't really rely on myself to be like tasteful. So, like I feel like I didn't want to exactly address that, but I wanted to give nods to it more. So
yeah. I also really like the fact that it's not about Mothman.
Yes.
I mean, he is an important element, but at the same time, you still manage to do. You describe it as a survival horror, or survival horror, but it's like a survival horror in two ways. It's like the both a little way in which he's trying to get out of the cave, or just try to fight for her life, and also Addie's way of trying to get out of the life that she was in and try to start a new life for herself.
yeah. Yeah. And I didn't intentionally, like when I started it, I wasn't necessarily going in that direction. Like Addie was just going to be kind of like my vehicle, just like the person to experience all that stuff. But I just always seem to slip into like, well, these are not two-dimensional people. They have their own motivations, and they carry their own, and I feel like well done, like creature features and horror films where like people are, adjusting to things. It's like people are going to react based on their specific makeup, like their genetic makeup, their experience level, what they read yesterday. Like, I mean, just things like that. So I feel like once I build that person in my head, I have to go along with what's going to motivate them. So yeah, like I didn't intend to make it like sort of a feminist Mothman novel, but it just kind of went there because I don't seem to be able to stop myself. So,
but it was good.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it fits so well.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm very glad to hear that. I questioned it, and because I wondered, if that part was like, if people were going to be like looking for a straight creature feature, if they were going to be deeply annoyed with me, and there probably will be some, but I hope that I kept that part of it alive enough, that people could more relate and see things in it, whether they're male or female or however they identify it from a gender standpoint, that maybe we can all see, because it's not just a female problem to get hooked into a relationship like that and get to where you distrust your own thought
Your own
process and
self,
what you know.
basically.
Yeah. And this is not meant at all to be a slam on my husband. He's a wonderful man, but God love him, he is a little bit of a mansplainer, and he doesn't mean to. And like when I pointed out, I'm like, this is why that's annoying, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, because his thing is he's really trying to help. And to in his defense, when we met, I was 23 years old and he was 36, and I was a clueless fucking 23-year-old. I did not own a coat. I didn't own an umbrella. And like, so there were a number of times like, and he was always really nice about it. He wasn't like, you fucking moron, what is wrong with you? He was like a little bit taken aback, and then he would go buy me a coat, which was really sweet, So like, I feel like at times he's had a hard time like readjusting that mindset, and
Yeah.
and so like there'll be times he'll tell me something and I will like discount my own knowledge, do what he said to do, and then we're both annoyed. I'm just like, oh, you were wrong, fucker. He's like, well, why didn't you do what you wanted? I don't know. Shut up.
I mean, you did actually manage to capture that when you're describing Brian. Like when his voice pops up, you always say like he says it in a nice, firm voice, but you catch the condescending tone.
Yeah. Yeah. And I definitely like to put this in here. That is not, like what I tend to do is borrow some from like my own interactions or the way that I see people do things, like for authenticity of reaction. But I definitely don't want anyone to think like my husband is Brian and I'm getting ready to leave him. And when I was going to Scares the Cara, I was going to ditch him. And then I came back because I can't drive. But, because
I can't drive.
he is not Brian by any means. But I can see where a man who was like, I mean, we've been together a long time and we've both had to readjust to our ideas of each other as we've grown, as we've gotten older. And like somebody who was incapable of that type of growth would be the Brian kind of guy. Somebody who was incapable of seeing their partner as somebody who could grow and change. I mean, that's where that kind of failure in a relationship comes from.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You definitely also managed to put it forth like at the end of the book, like Addie's interaction with the sheriff. It's just that was a gun punch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
and then when he comes and he's talking to Brian, I'm like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Well, and it's that. I don't know if you've run into that before, but there are certain types of people who like will speak over you as though you don't exist to talk to your and it's just bizarre. Like sometimes it'll be things with like your own health, and they're just supposed to be there with you and somebody will talk over you. And it's, the older I get, the more annoying that is. And the more, the more I'm more likely to like speak out and when everybody is mad, but it's, part of it's like, but from my perspective, I was already mad. Like I'm mad on the inside. So I feel like everyone else should also suffer.
Yes.
Yeah. And because my wife and I, we've been together for a very long time, and I see this exact thing you are describing, and I get mad at it because I'm like, I'm not the one that's suffering through X, Y, or Z. It's like, talk to her. Like, I'm just here to help and support her, but I'm not here to be like, oh yeah, that pain is because of, I don't know, whatever. I'm like, I don't feel that pain because it's not mine.
No, that never happened. I don't remember it.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
This actually happened to me. This might have also been like a cultural thing. But when I was staying in Japan, and my husband came with me, this happened all the fucking time. It's like they would not look at me when we were going like to shop, and we at one time we were like shopping for a TV, and me being the person that is actually fluent in the language, was trying to talk to the clerk, who was a man, by the way, and he didn't even look at me. He kept looking at my husband and talking to him, and he's like, I don't know shit in Japanese. And he just kept pointing at me like, she knows it. Talk to her. Well, I was like fuming instantly. Like, I don't want to scream here because then I won't get my TV.
It was the same when I was living in China, actually. Like one time I went to go TV shopping when I lived in China, and I brought my friend. Her nickname was Tuz, which is like rabbit in Chinese. and we went to Walmart because you're getting the real deal at Walmart in China, and the clerk would talk to me in Chinese,
Yeah.
but she was the one intermediating the whole thing. It was weird, but like, even, like I was like, why aren't you talking with her? Because I'm the foreigner here.
Mhm.
And it's just a weird assumption. And one of the things that, again, like I have a concept for a story called mansplained to death. And it's not like really a rant exactly, because it's one of those things, like, again, my husband will just say things sometimes, like, and I always tell him, I'm like, while you're sitting there reasoning about why there can't be a zombie apocalypse, me and the kid and the dog are like already in the car booking it out of town, and you're being torn
Yes.
apart because you're going to sit there explaining to me why it can't be that and why it's not. And, while you're being digested, like, it's just, to me, it's like you're kind of hurting yourself there, by not listening to everyone involved. It's,
I love
again,
that example.
That is so
he puts
amazing.
up with so much, but like, but so do I, because that's marriage. So
Oh my gosh.
I'm so glad he doesn't ever listen to my podcast. Fuck.
What if this is the first one he listens to?
Well, we'll have a conversation later, I
I,
guess.
I would have scared him away with all my weird talk. I'm like, wait, hard? Really?
No, he would be making his own puns. Are you kidding me? He's 52. He has never outgrown any of that. He would think it was hilarious.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, and what's funny is, I guess, to get back to Below, and actually, but to get back to Brian, what I liked too was that they they sort of grew apart. I mean, obviously some of the way Brian treated Addie, but the nice thing you did was you didn't make, like, I mean, I'm trying to describe it. Basically, he wasn't the monster that you would see in some things like this. I mean, like, he was a monster, he was mansplaining, and he was kind of talking down and thinking for her, but he wasn't like, at least if I'm remembering correctly, he wasn't like fully like cheating on her or doing anything like abusive, which what I appreciate was that nuance, because you're like, especially, and the reason I kind of like this and bring it up is because, and even Vitmaid brought it up too, some of his suggestions were like, hey, stop, let's think about this. So you're like, okay. But at the same time, like Vitmay said, is like, he's doing his internal voice, Addie's internal voice of Brian was that kind of condescending. So it's like this really kind of complex relationship where you're kind of like, you're not doing the, I don't know, I'm trying, like, you're not doing the kind of bad jock guy, or you're not doing this kind of guy that,
No, yeah.
but you're
It's not.
doing,
It's not a stereotype.
yes,
Yeah.
good. That's the word. That's the word I was looking for. I was like, you're not doing a stereotype, and you're making it. But what I think I'm trying to get to, my brain was processing, is that you're showing it, the way you're showing Addie's growth is she's not running from the stereotype. She is like, hey, I want to be my own person. He's not letting me be my own person. I'm going to do this, and so it's like, having personal relations, friendships, I should say is a better word, with people who've gone through similar things. They realize they're different people, and there's different things going on between them, and it just didn't work out for them. And I like that thing, that like, where we can go to that, where we're not going to the typical stereotype movie trope of somebody running from somebody else because they're a monster. It's just, she wants to be her own person because she wants to be. It's not because it's kind of forced upon her.
Yeah, it's a
If that
natural thing.
And part of it is, it's not just that they're not right for each other because of how Brian treats her, but it's because she knows herself, and she gives in too easily to it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, like, again, and that's not like saying, oh, it's her fault, but
No.
to me, it struck me as more realistic that, like, well, we're always going to have this power imbalance.
Yeah.
And,
Mhm.
I just don't have it in me to constantly fight to be on top.
Yeah.
Or I have I know that this is always going to have this effect on me, or whatever. So yeah, I mean that's just what seemed.
Yeah.
That's how their relationship kind of like evolved as I was writing.
Yeah. Which, and I will say, and I'm like remembering too, what I'll put a little monster in Brian is the fact that he's like, well, you'll just come back to me and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So I will say that's a little monstery, but like, yeah. So
I
that
still
was the
feel
part.
like, yeah, like I said, it feels monstery, but at the same time you're like, but it's done in a natural way and in a
Yeah.
realistic way in which these men exist, not in a stereotypical way, but this is what they would typically say because
Yeah.
of their, egos being bruised or something like that.
Yeah. And then I think and Bitmay, you had said it too. It comes out at the end, which we can get to in a second, but it comes out more in the end where he's finally kind of like, haha, see, I was right. And you have to. And so I think that I like that, like it's a good character progression for him as much as for Addie too, of seeing kind of like where this is leading to. So
I just want to say, Laurel, the ending was fantastic.
Yes.
I'm so glad you all liked it. Not everybody does. That's okay.
No. I mean, horror doesn't have to revolve around that, but it just has to have this kind of conclusion that I'm sure not everyone's gonna like, but this is like it felt the most fitting for Addie's journey. After
Yeah.
everything that she's been through in this story, this was most fitting.
Yeah. And so frustrating. I wanted to smack those two dudes. Like,
I did too. Well, the thing is too is like I will say this is one of the few like horror books I've read that has made me like want to throw my Kindle across the room. It's like there's like
Oh yeah, you were not shying away from the terrified stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
something about like stuff happening in darkness
Yes.
and
Yeah.
your character can't see shit.
Yes.
Like that always gets under my skin. Adam Neville does it very well, and it was done fantastically in here too.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Yes. So like, yeah. I don't know, like we'll not fully spoiler it because it's new.
We can ring a little spoiler bell.
Yeah.
Right now we can do what the final guys do.
Yeah.
Ding a ding a ding a ding a ding a ding.
Yeah.
Let's give you a chance to sign off if you don't want any
Yeah.
spoilers.
It's like read it. Well, get it. Perpetual Motion Machine. Go buy it and read it. You're gonna love it. There's so much cool stuff happening in this book. So
fast read, you can't let it go.
indeed.
Seriously, I like.
Or insert sound effect here.
Yeah. I'll find some weird sound, or probably not, but we'll pretend I did. But like when they, yes, when you get even like that first tease when she's kind of like rolling down the hill and there's this like four-fingered hand, I was just like, oh God, what is happening?
Or when she brushed something like big and leathery, I was like, no.
Yes.
And
oh man.
and you immediately draw people in with just that first line and came out of nowhere, and I'm like, what came? What came?
I am very like keen on first lines. Like I feel like you need a hook.
Yeah.
And because often you do have to do a certain amount of exposition or setting up your scene or whatever, but like you kind of want something that people will catch that and be like, oh, well, I need to know more.
And this is because this is we're into spoiler territory now, and I don't know if you planned this or not, but the grinning man, is he real, or was it part of Mothman's hallucinations?
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
I was too. I was kind of assuming it was hallucinations, but that was like, ooh.
You're gonna be really annoyed at me.
I like. Honestly, you don't even have to tell us. You can let us imagine.
Is it up to the reader?
Kind of, yeah. Because part of so like if you've read Keel's book or are familiar with like the actual phenomenon that occurred, like it's very unclear who is what is related to what phenomena, and what is what is actually real and what's not. But there were some very like disconcerting things that went on that weren't necessarily tied exactly to Mothman, but seemed to be related to the phenomena. And some of it was these fucking weird ass people that would like show up and like be like people pretending to be people. You know,
Okay,
like there
that's
was just
creepy.
something really off about them. And some of them would be like, you know, Keel never saw those ones in particular, but he would show up and somebody would tell him that they had met with him the day before and it was dead on him. They would swear in a court of law that it was his voice, his appearance, exactly him. And he never ran into them, but these other people did. So basically the whole like Mothman legend and everything is not just this Mothman critter appearing and not just being a harbinger of doom. It's these really inexplicable fuckers who are, you know, running around doing things they shouldn't be able to do that there's no technology for even now, which is
That's
really
horrifying.
yeah, it's really creepy. If you can get past the ego in that book, which
Yeah.
is intense, it's very interesting because there really is so much to it.
Wow. Okay, so I mean that would probably then connect with the truck and
Yeah.
what was inside the fucking truck.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I honestly love that.
Yeah.
Because like I even was thinking about that as I was reading through it with the grinning man. Once she gets in the cave and things are happening, I kept like in the back of my head going like, oh, I wonder when the grinning man's coming back. And then when you like open up the truck and you see all that, it's like, oh, I wonder what that's all about. And I
Mhm.
love that it's like we just have to imagine whatever that one is about. I thought that was super cool.
Well, and I will tell you this now because and this is a exclusive and I realize like it's because I can't so I have extremely poor judgment and
Oh
I
no.
can't so like I end up never telling anyone anything because I'm not 100% sure whether I'm supposed to. Like literally to the point of like when my husband was in the hospital, like I didn't tell people.
Oh.
I don't know why. Like the fuck is wrong with me? But anyways, so that's an aside. But I am actually going to be working on adapting this for a screenplay myself. Now we don't have anyone who's like we have not shopped it to anybody, but my media manager is Ryan Lewis of Spin a Black Yarn, which also I don't really tell anybody. And again, I don't know why. I need a fucking lobotomy. But in any case, yes, I work with Ryan Lewis. He's fantastic. And when I talked to him about it, like one of the things that's going on right now is that a lot of places are not interested in putting money into development. So they don't want to pay for somebody to adapt the script. And so I am going to at least give it a shot. And I might fail miserably, but I'm looking at, you know, maybe expanding on some of these elements for that.
Oh my
Wow.
god, I'm so super excited.
So to be a set, like basically, and this is what Josh Mailerman and Ryan told me when I first started working with them was like, they're two different pieces of art. Like you have the book that is what it is. And then any adaptation of it is going to be a separate entity.
Yes, yes.
So it's not like exactly like, you know, so it'll be different and I might take it in different, I don't know yet because I'm like very early on with it, but I already feel guilty telling you all like I did something wrong.
No.
God, I just don't,
I'm
anyway.
super excited. I'm not kidding. This would be fantastic as a film.
Yeah.
I would love to see it.
Even if it's just a short film and you don't really include everything, people would be raving about this. Like if you stick to
know.
like her just her point of view, and you know you not knowing whether this is like all in her head or not, it's gonna be awesome.
I hope so. I think it would be super cool. And part of me just loves this like punk rock, you know, like how Max Booth got his made, like where,
Hmm.
you know, it's like, well, we want it exactly this way and we're going to do it in a short period of time. We just want to get it the fuck out there without asking a lot of permission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys have watched many of the Addams Family films, not that Addams Family, the snapping ones, but the, you know,
Yeah.
they're like that family that makes films together. They did Dig Deeper
Yes.
and shit,
What was
Hellbender.
that one?
Hellbender.
Yeah.
Hellbender that recently came out. And it's fantastic and it's so punk rock. They just do everything themselves and they come up with these amazing concepts and I'm just like I just think that would be super cool. Like not that it wouldn't be awesome to get it adapted by like something, you know, some big whatever, but like if it could be done punk rock like that and like fast and
Well,
just like thrown out there, I would be fucking thrilled.
yeah, because you know, now that you say that, first of all, I totally understand and you should not feel guilty about touting yourself. That I do that, so you definitely shouldn't do that because this is amazing. And also just like it's your book is very cinematic. Oh, this would be a beautiful movie because of everything that you do in it, and it could be totally punk rock because of the cave, and like you could just get in there and make it really dark and grimy and all this cool mystery stuff. That would be just brilliant.
That it would be fun, and I think it's going to be like. And at first, it was a very intimidating idea. Like I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know if I can do this. But again, like this is part of what the joy of working with Ryan is that he's very confident and he's very like extremely knowledgeable. So I feel like he's gonna help walk me through like this process. And also my very good friend James Sabata is he has written a number of screenplays, and he's like, okay, we'll do this. He's gonna help me with it. So I don't feel like totally adrift, but
Nice.
That's cool. That is super cool.
That's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're going back to the what's in the truck. I mean, when
What's in the truck?
What's in the truck?
when you when you came to that part, like, and I'm addressing Matt and Rich here, when you came to the part where Addie is meeting Matt for the first time, what was your impression of him?
Like at the truck stop?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny. I like the way he acted. I thought he was a funny guy, especially his little CB talks. I thought those cracked me up. I liked him, and
No, I'm talking about like how he approached Addie.
like coming up about the whole like, man, that thing came out of nowhere kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that was that was a little weird, but I don't. Truck stops are weird places. I'll just tell you that.
They are. They definitely are.
They definitely
Matt has
are.
personal experience.
I do. So, they are interesting fellows and places, and so I could, especially for that, if he saw this van and what she did, I could see him being like, whoa, that was nuts. So like I can kind of see that. And like what's interesting is he kind of plays and it goes to your question about what's in the truck and just like who he is. I thought that was he has some layers, is my guess.
Well, yeah, the thing is when I read that part and he approached her and he kind of like felt like, I'm not gonna approach you or anything like that, it still ring bells in my head. I was like, yeah, then just get the fuck out of here, guy. I just felt like, no, I was like, if I was Addie, I was like, yeah, thanks, leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah, I think for that, what I will say is the second time. So when she's actually in the parking lot, that's when, like, when they're in the restaurant, I was like, all right, I can, that makes sense because of that place and just. I meet strange people in places and they always seem really friendly about things. So I'm like, all right, cool. But in the parking lot, that's when I would have been like, dude. And like, even though he was kind of like, you can leave whenever you want, all that stuff, I was like, well, I'd still be a little freaked out. And then, but what I'm trying to wonder was like, did he see the grinning man, or was the grinning man part of his biz and he was trying to watch her to make sure she didn't do anything? I don't know. Maybe he was just being a nice dude.
Nice dude, carrying a bunch of bodies in his truck. Yeah, that sounds about nice.
Yeah, those
Everyone's
bodies
flawed.
are no big deal.
I mean, Ted Bundy was nice,
This is very true. Like
So yeah, so I'm like, you probably don't have that security bell attached in your head, so.
Well, that's exactly, and I think that no, totally. Like what I liked about this and reading other books and stuff like that it puts you in that different perspective. And I was kind of like half on the fence, and And I was like, I don't know if I would have taken a CB from him, but I get also driving late at night, and especially the way you describe Addie is having like a hard, like night vision is terrible. And I know driving like late night in places like that, and if you have terrible night vision, it's just the worst. So like I could kind of see like, yeah, it's nice having a little bit of a convoy, but yeah, at the same time, I was like, I don't know if me personally, as like a male, if I would have taken his CB, I would have been like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm definitely not going to say that she has the best judgment for sure.
I mean, in these type of situations, you kind of don't, you know.
Yeah, and that's what I was
Yeah.
chalking it up to. I was just like, well, she's been dealing with a lot, and somebody's kind of being nice and offering to at least give her somebody in front of her. So I was like, that's fair.
Well, and I have to say, like, again, this is like partly just me slapping all my personal experience on it. But when I was doing that drive to Scarce the Care, like I would have accepted like a crazy stranger taking the wheel. Like if someone had approached me at one of the many stops that I made and we're like, hey, can I drive your car? I'd have been like, you know what? Okay.
Like, this is
fine, because I
cool.
can't, I'm so scared and I'm so tired of this.
Honestly,
Like, 50-50.
You'll be like, here's the keys. I'll just go in the trunk, make it easy
Yeah.
for you.
Something's gonna kill me today. Might as well be you.
Yeah.
I used to work at a highway rest stop, actually.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. I worked at the rest stop still exists. Where I work doesn't. I worked at Subway in a highway rest stop, and someone was murdered in my rest stop that I worked
Oh
in.
God.
No.
Oh my God.
So yeah, that was.
That's
That
terrifying.
was fun.
If someone was being overly friendly to me in a highway rest stop, I would be instantly suspicious. Um, but that being said, I could see someone being on a long drive going through what Abby's going through. I said Abby, didn't I?
Yeah.
Is that Abby?
I
Abby did?
actually, like, we had to remove some of those typos from the book too. 'Cause I thought that.
Yeah, going through what she's going through, like I could see, like, oh, finally, this stranger is going to like, someone's gonna help me. I can't do this myself. I'll gracefully accept the kindness of strangers. And sometimes strangers can be very kind, and other times, they have bodies in the back of their truck.
I
Oh, man.
still like all of them were autopsies, right? Like autopsied bodies.
Were
I
they?
don't know.
I don't know. That's the thing. I was like, what's happening?
I
mean,
love.
once the crash happens, like you really can't. Like, everything can be one of two different things. Not
Yes.
everything. A lot of things can be one of two different things, and we don't have enough to know what the true answer is. So it leaves us to our suspicions of what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
And
you throw us in a lake, which I thought was amazing.
Mhm.
Well, and it's so, I will, oh man, I had something on the, damn it. It completely escaped my head. Sorry. Yeah, the lake originally too, I was like, I had her kind of skirting around it. And then I was like, fuck no, man. If you've got a lake, let's just experience everything horrible.
Yeah.
Oh.
Let's just like fall right in it. But
Oh gosh. And just these weird golem things slowly chewing on her. I thought
Oh
that
my
Oh,
god.
that
that
was the
so
moment. I was just
bad.
like, oh god. Like that
Yeah.
scene in Ravenous when they're in the like tent and that one guy's like,
Oh,
he
yeah.
was eating me.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Which I've always thought was like some people are like, well, that wouldn't be the worst way to go because I'm feeding nature. I'm like, no. Like if
No.
I look up and part of me is like like in
Yeah.
something's mouth, like
Mhm.
it's gonna fucking freak me out. And I'll,
Yeah.
probably never. Oh, I remember, yeah. So like part two of like, the wondering like, well, this could be this or this could be that. And it was important to me to have Addie like not really question that, because one of my most like annoying tropes that I hate so much, in our house we call it a tripe. If a trope is really bad, we call it a tripe. And for me, it's like this instant assumption that like people immediately go like, I must be crazy. Or you look, you'll look at your companion, you're like, you're clearly crazy. We've been married for 25 years and you have a track record of being a perfectly normal person, but you observing something outside of the normal means the only answer is you're crazy. It's like,
Yeah.
shut up. That's
Mhm.
to me, that's not really how that thing goes. And, I feel like the constant questioning of self, it's like, for me, I will look around in some situations and be like, maybe it's not what I think it is, but I have to react anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna sit here be run down because I'm just swearing there's not a fucking truck coming down the road at me.
Yeah. Or if something is nibbling on me, I'm not just gonna let it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though my cat likes to do that, I'm like, no.
Oh God, yeah. That because like you're not like you're not dead. You're still there as it's just chewing on you. No, thank you.
Yeah, no, like eat me after I'm dead. If that's how we got to
Yeah.
do it.
Exactly. It's like, you get shot or stabbed in the right spot, you're dead. And then fine, you can stab my body a million times, but I'm already dead. But like if a little thing is like chomping at my stomach and I'm still sitting there like, oh, this hurts. And I'm like, no.
Yep.
So
Well, it's like in the Gunslinger,
yeah.
the first book, like when it, I don't know if it's the first or the second, but when the lobstrosity,
That's the second.
Yes.
that's the
Drawn.
second one. Yeah, when it eats his fingers, like that would fuck me up. Like, and especially how fast it happened. They're just
Yes.
gone.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I did like the fact that, because it happens. You heard the creature nibbling on her stomach happens while she is submerged in water, and I think at some point, like the water kind of numbs everything there.
Yeah.
It's like you're not like hyper focused on like on the nerves around your body, so the water being there might numb it down. So I can get why Addie's like, it's a tickling here. What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, no, that was, yeah, exactly. That was perfect because it was the water and her mind and all these a million things going on. So yeah, you would just be like, oh, my stomach. And even the way you do it is just that where you're like, oh, my stomach feels funny. And then we go back into her mind. And then a little bit later, my stomach feels funny again. And then she looks down. She's like, what the fuck? Oh, God.
I also really really love the scene when she's climbing into the truck and she's going for mass rescue, and you're like, yes, she finally reached him, because that was the whole thing of her going there. She's like, I need to help this person. He
Yeah.
might be trapped. He might be alive. He might be like seriously in danger. I need to help him. He gave me a helping hand. I gotta return the favor. And then comes the reveal that he's been dead the entire time, and you're like, then what moved his hand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was talking to her? I thought, oh, that was
Yes.
so awesome.
Oh, that was like terrifying. I was like, oh no. And then you hear the slurping and the munching. You're like, no.
That whole scene had me on the edge of my seat as I was reading. I was
Yes, that scene
like,
just was bonkers.
Yes.
Well, part of it too was like the horror of like even if he's injured, right? You're so excited to not be alone. Like
Yeah.
within the darkness, what you want is to seek someone else out.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
and be able to like pool your resources, like comfort one another.
Yeah.
And you've
Because
been
there's
moving
always
towards
safe.
it this whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's always safety in numbers.
Yeah.
But then that's ripped right under her, and you're like, nope, you're on your own, honey. Good luck with that.
Yep, I did that.
Yep, I did that.
Sorry, Addie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is what we do. We like to put our
Oh, yeah.
characters into like horrific pain, and then you're like, but it's for character growth. And you're like,
Yeah.
it's like it's not that I like torturing people in my head.
Not real people.
Right, exactly. Oh my gosh.
So yeah,
No.
there were a ton of like so many scenes that I absolutely loved. Like this one is one of my favorites, like the truck scene, and also when she discovers the bodies in the truck and like Parker's voice, like, "Did you find it?" And I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yes. That was great.
That was horrifying. I was like, "Is he gonna come? Is he gonna take her?"
Yeah. I know that, like, I love that because all of that then just sits in the back of your head when she's going through everything else. You're just like, is Parker going to be right out in this cave with the grinning man and all this stuff? That was like just perfect, like bigger world that we're not seeing.
Yeah,
I
it
love.
added a whole lot of tension to it. I was like, it was already tense to begin with, but this was like, no, well, you're gonna have to deal with that too. So maybe go into the lake.
Yeah.
don't even know what advice to offer you at this point.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, just keep going, I guess.
It's like stumble in the darkness is much better.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. So this was just awesome. The ending was great with the cops, and then her.
I wanted to punch that fucking cop.
I know.
And like Addie says, like, I really hope that corner of the desk is hurting his nuts. So I was like,
Yes.
yes, I hope he slams on it.
Well, and what's perfect is that like it's like this twofold thing because you have these two, I don't know, country bumpkin cops up there in the middle of nowhere that are like, well, this is just some poor woman who's crazy. But then you also have this idea of them thinking she's crazy too, and like having to like prove that, and it's exactly kind of what you were saying, the tripe kind of concept of the like, no, I went through this craziness, but unfortunately I can't find the, grinning man, but I can send you down to that cave. It's just this whole like storm of stuff, and you're just like, oh god, you just need to get out of there. Where's the Mothman? Let him take you somewhere.
Embrace your inner Mothman. Embrace it.
Yes.
And that's where the erotica comes in.
Yeah, the
Find
epilogue,
out in the
not
sequel.
expect that, Laurel.
I just loved her outburst, right? When she's in the police car. I just like, if I had been alone in the apartment, I would have clapped my hands
Yeah.
and screamed, "You go, girl!"
Yes.
Because she
Seriously.
definitely deserved it, and I was like, "Yes, you need this. You need to scream this out."
Well, I mean, yeah, I feel like a lot of times there's just this lack of awareness. And, it's like, and the way he immediately goes to, you're offending me,
Yeah.
and this is like, I don't mean this to come off ranty at all, but every so often, like, as a result of like a couple of experiences, I sit there like, how much have I given away of myself to make sure that someone's not like mildly uncomfortable. Like I could be suffering like hell, but I shouldn't say anything because it'll make them slightly embarrassed or like uncomfortable. And inevitably, just I usually err on the side of me suffering, and I don't know why that is, but it's frustrating, because it's like from almost, I mean, this sounds weird, but like from an evolutionary perspective, like this is how we learn, right? Like if you do something fucked up, you should be the one to feel uncomfortable so that you learn, you know, how to stay within your tribe, right? Like, and I don't know, somehow I feel like that's gotten way off track
Yeah.
anymore. But
Yeah, I agree.
Also, I do think like the way the book ended with kind of like Addie going off at the sheriff and Addie just like
Fuck
leaving.
it.
I think that was like the perfect way for the book to end.
Yeah, it's like her saying, "Fuck it, I'll just go my way."
Yeah.
Don't know if it's gonna be end well or not. At least it will be my fucking way.
Yeah. Though she'll never get to that horror con, which I was kind of disappointed.
I know.
But the Mothman's flying in the distance, keeping his eye on her.
Yeah.
She could make it. With all those time lapses, she could just like end up there.
Right? It's like some weird looper thing. Just send me there. Come on, Mothman. Amazing. I love this. I hope people love it too because it was so good.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. But and it is one of those things like when I was thinking about it and like being apprehensive, about putting it out and stuff, I had to just like take a breath and remind myself like I said what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
So that's all I need to sit with it. And if people don't connect with it, that's totally fine. Not everything is for everybody. And so I'm not, I feel like it's always like I always want to remind folks like if we can be best friends, and if you give it a 1 star and like tear it apart, I'll never mention it to you. Like it's fine because it's my writing, and it's the story. And I've had stories that I've hated so much, like, that I was like just desperately wanted the time back. I was so mad at it. So if you loved Crossroads but you hate this, if you liked Whispers in the Dark but you hate this, like it's totally fine. And I'm, again, thankfully I'm not new to this. I've definitely gotten some reviews of, that people really didn't care for stuff that I've written, and that's totally fine. So yeah, just making sure everybody knows that if you don't like it and you write like a scathing review, I'm never going to bring that up to you. I'm not going to go in the comments and be like, ouch.
Yeah. You're like, but I fixed it.
Yeah, no, I fixed it, guys.
Laurel, don't worry, because I'll be the one who does that.
It's just add that extra note of like exhilaration. Like when I leave a review, I might get a visitation from man.
But I really hope this book finds like the audience that loves it, because it is a fantastic read.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. I
remember-
really do appreciate that.
I remember when I got the arc, I was at work and I put it on my phone and I read the entire book at work.
That's awesome.
It was like during my prep periods, I was just reading my Kindle app on my phone to get this book read.
That's so funny.
I couldn't put it down.
That's awesome. That is really, really awesome to hear. I appreciate it. And it was one of those things. I was part of the reason I wanted to work with Max is because I knew that everybody I think has blinders on with their own writing. And I knew that if it wasn't, something that was going to fly, that he would be like, thanks, but go fuck yourself. He probably said it like more like, I knew that if, that he would not just accept it just to accept it. And I, that's why I feel like self-publishing is awesome in so many ways. Like I feel like we get some amazing things out there that we never would without that. But I also just like personally don't like, I want someone else to say like, you're talking out of your ass, Hightower. Like this is awful.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Again, we know I shouldn't trust my own judgments.
But I will say, Laurel, thank you a lot for coming on with this book. Like, it was a really great read, and I really hope that people listen to this podcast and pick it up.
I hope they do too, but I hope that they log off after the spoiler ding if they haven't read
That's
it, because
true.
we have
Yes.
spoiled the ever living fuck out of it.
We did.
I still think it's enjoyable, even with the ding, just because the atmosphere you can only get from the text itself.
True.
Mhm.
Like, it's so good.
Thank
But,
you. I really appreciate it.
The book's available now from technically it's Ghoulish Books, not Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, but
Good
they're
point.
interconnected pretty much. Like it's just a branch off of PMMP.
Yeah.
But you can also get the book on Amazon. I think it's on Barnes and Noble. Wherever you can get books, you can get this book, and I highly recommend it. And Laura, where can our listeners get in touch with you?
I'm on Twitter like all the time, and honestly, if you see me on there, you should probably tell me to leave. But it's
That's a good idea.
it's at Hightower Laurel. That's where I mostly am. But I do have a website that I need to get updated, and I answer messages unless it's from an ex-boyfriend tracking me down, in which case I don't. So.
And what's the website where you publish your Mothman erotica?
Yes, yeah. That's gonna be part of it. It's an awakening.
An awakening.
But it's gonna be like it's gonna be flipped on its head. Mothman is in fact a virgin.
Oh.
Oh.
What's up?
You should contact Chuck Tingle and see if you two can collaborate on
He
something.
probably already wrote it. In the 30 seconds it took me to say that, he's probably already written the book and put it out.
Yes. Seriously.
Virgin Mothman pounding me in my virgin butt.
Moth dust on my lips.
Oh yes, there it is. Oh my gosh, that is perfect. You think, does a Mothman have the like really weird tongue that like moths have?
The little curly Q thing.
Yeah.
I don't know,
like,
we'll have to wait for Chuck to tell us.
Yes, yeah, there it is.
And Billy, where can listeners get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me on Twitter as WhitlemayS. And hopefully during Easter break, I can put up some more reviews on my BookTube channel, Thank Pipsqueak Reads. And hopefully I can also put a little bit more content on my book talk, which is Whitlemay Mist. But if you want to chat or something, it's better just to reach me on Twitter.
And Matt, what about you?
I am probably only on Twitter at Brandenburg DM.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at Rudy53088, and be sure to follow our podcast at Into Staring. This is Richard Gerlach saying keep staring.